It's taken me way longer than it should have done to get around to watching Hocus Pocus 2. This was released in 2022. It's directed by Anne Fletcher. It's written by Jen D'Angelo. And of course, we have a cast including Cassie, Najimy, Bette Midler, and Sarah Jessica Parker. And I didn't really want to watch it to begin with, as I was waiting for the hype to die down. I was hearing too many other people's opinions, and I wanted to wait until I could put some distance between me and the film so I could form an opinion without any, or a lot of influence from other people. And I figured it's finally time to watch it. I couldn't remember a lot of the specific things that I'd been reading about it, but in general, it seemed to have a positive reception. And then I went on to IMDb, and it only has 6 out of 10. And that's across 56,000 reviews and ratings. Now, 6 out of 10 is not terrible. It's generally in the middle of being an average film and one where there are some issues. And I honestly was surprised by that, because my memory thinks that it was very, very well received at the time. So I'm either misremembering it, or people who liked it don't believe reviews on IMDb. So either way, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I couldn't remember any specific details. I went in with an open mind, and I have to say I liked it, certainly more than 6 out of 10. I don't really give star ratings, but if I were, I'd give it at least a 6.5, which might not seem like a significant difference, but it's a much better rating in terms of IMDb. This one takes place several decades after the first film, and the Sanderson sisters have been resurrected. And needless to say, now that they're out and about again, they are causing havoc, causing a lot of problems, and certainly threatening the safety of children. And it's up to mostly some teenagers to try and save the day. And in general, the narrative's not as strong as I would have liked. I don't think the story is as detailed as I would have liked it to have been. But the characters are so phenomenal, and I just absolutely love watching the Sanderson sisters that I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So if somebody were to say, well, actually, I didn't like it because the story is quite weak, I can completely see that. But for me, I loved the performances. Everybody did a good job with the performances, but obviously, in particular, the leads for the Sanderson sisters were just amazing. I'm a big fan of Cassie Najimy in particular, and I loved her performance, but Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker also did great work. The costumes are stunning. The special effects look great. It's also the first time I'm watching any Hocus Pocus since going to Salem, so it was a slightly different experience for me there as well. That's not why it took me so long to watch it, but I did really thoroughly enjoy it. And it was actually filmed in Rhode Island, which is interesting enough, and in general I thought it was a visually beautiful film, very stunning, atmospheric. The costumes look great, the editing is great, the performances are great. I think the weak point is simply the narrative. I don't think the narrative was very strong. It's not bad, it works well enough. The pacing is the pacing was a little slow to begin with, but in general the pacing's not too bad. I just don't think the narrative was as interesting as it could have been, but the characters carry it. I'm narrative driven first, and then well-written characters are kind of what I look for second in a film, and because the characters here are obviously fabulous, that for me was enough to make it an engaging film. But again, if somebody wants to argue that the narrative was not great, or not as great as it could be, I'd completely understand that. But honestly, I thought Hocus Pocus 2 was not too bad. If you like the first film, then absolutely check this out. It's not in the same league as the first film at all. That may sound obvious because sequels rarely are, but sometimes sequels can be just as good. This one does feel worlds away from the quality of the first film, but definitely in its own, it's not too bad. That being said, do I think Hocus Pocus 3 should exist? No, I don't. I really don't. This one's different because it's been quite a long time. There are some modern aspects to this. I won't go into too much, but there's some modern technology used in this here and there, and seeing the sisters interacting with that was quite fun, and it made it a little different to the first film. It makes sense having a sequel several decades later because it's a little bit different, and different things are happening. Different characters have different attitudes and behaviours to what they would have done in the 90s. But having a third film certainly this close to the second film. I don't know when the third film's coming out, but I'm assuming if it's in production, it won't be decades down the line. So I enjoyed this, and it did feel a little different to the first film because it is set quite a bit into the future from the first film. But I don't know, the third film I will watch, but I'm not really hopeful for it because the novelty of this second film really shouldn't extend into a third film unless they do something completely different with the third film. That's the only way I can see it really working. But I'll reserve judgment. I'll go in with an open mind, as I did with this one. And I'm pleased to say that while it is nowhere near the quality of the first film in terms of storytelling, that's mostly the main point. Everything else works well. Visually stunning, great performances, gorgeous costumes. Some of the humour didn't really appeal to me. There's a particular music number that I didn't really like, but that's not really a big deal. And in general, I thought Hocus Pocus 2, while not as good as the first film, because it was released quite a long time after and we have some modern things and something to make it a little bit different, it made it feel worthwhile. I'd say it's worth watching if you enjoyed the first film. If you didn't like the first film, I'd say this one's probably not worth bothering with. But if you do like Hocus Pocus and you've yet to see the second film, then I'd say, sure, check it out. It's not perfect, but it was generally an enjoyable experience.